It's just different for us. We're scared of, black people are scared of police, man. My house got broken into. You think I called the cops? My house is too nice. It's not a real nice house, but they never believe I live there. As soon as I open the door, man, oh, he's still here.
Open and shut case, Johnson. Apparently this nigger broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere.
I said that.
He's got me on videotape and I'm still flipping the fuck out.
You called me a nigger? Go ahead.
I called you a nigger. You're a nigger. Nasty fucking nigger.
Christian Cooper, no relation, who's filming, asked her to leash her dog in a section of Central Park which requires it to protect the wildlife.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to me.
I'm taking pictures and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Cooper did just that.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
In order to understand each other's perspective, we require education and empathy. Only through education and experience can we truly come to understand each other. Immediately following Martin Luther King's death, Jane Elliott steps into a classroom.
And I went into my classroom the next morning and I split my group according to the color of their eyes, put the brown-eyed people on the top, the blue-eyed people on the bottom, and discriminated against the blue-eyed people the way we have discriminated against people of color in this country for 300 years.
This is a special week. Does anybody know what it is? National Brotherhood. National Brotherhood Week. What's brotherhood?
Be kind to your brothers. Be kind.
Okay, be kind to your brothers.
Like you would like to be treated.
Treat everyone the way you would like to be treated. Treat everyone as though he was your brother. And is there anyone in this United States that we do not treat as our brothers?
Yes.
Who?
Yeah.
The black people. When many people see a black person or a yellow person or a red person, what do they think?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Dumb people.
And look at the dumb people. What else do they think sometimes? What kinds of things do they say about black people?
Call them niggers.
In the city, many places in the United States, how are black people treated? How are Indians treated? How are people who are of a different color than we are treated?
They're part of this world. They don't get anything in this world.
Why is that?
Because they're a different color.
You think you know how that would feel to be judged by the color of your skin?
Yeah.
Do you think you do? No, I don't think you would know how that felt unless you had been through it, would you? It might be interesting to judge people today by the color of their eyes.
I watched little wonderful brown-eyed white people become vicious, ugly, nasty, discriminating, domineering people in the space of 15 minutes. I watched brilliant little blue-eyed white Christian children become timid and frightened and angry and unable to learn in the space of 15 minutes. If you do that with a whole group of people for a lifetime, you change them psychologically. If you do that for a lifetime, what do you suppose that does to them? You find out that there are people of color who refuse to live down to our expectations of them.
So black people are very afraid of the police. That is a big part of our culture. No matter how rich you are, how old you are. We're just afraid of them. We got every reason to be afraid of them. You know what I mean? Like, you're a white lady. You ever been pulled over before? You know, and then what they say, let me see your driver's license and your registration, right? See, I'm just guessing. That's not what they say to us. Well, you wouldn't believe what they say to us. Spread your cheeks and lift your sack. Like, what the fuck?
Between 1525 and 1866, 12.5 million Africans were kidnapped from Africa to be sent to the Americas. This was a part of the transatlantic slave trade. Due to disease, malnutrition, and other forms of inhumane mistreatment, about 2.4 million Africans died on their journey. Roughly 4 million African Americans who were to live their lives as slaves in the United States. Slaves represented Southern planters' most significant investment and the bulk of their wealth.
Miss Deeds. The Sabbath day, Master. I took me a walk to commune with the Lord.
Bring the Lord into your deceptions. You're coming from Shaw's plantation.
No.
Oh, now you speak. Now it's when I add to her lies you find your tongue.
I went to Master Shaw's plantation.
You admit it?
Yes, freely. And you know why? I got this from Mrs. Shaw. Mrs. Steps won't even grab me no soap to clean with. I stink so much to make myself gag. 500 pounds of cotton, day in, day out. More than any man here. And for that I will be clean. That's all I ask. This here, what I went to Shaw's for.
Liar.
The Lord knows that's all.
You're a liar.
And you, blind with your own covetousness. I don't lie, Master. If you kill me, I'll stick to that.
Well, I'll fetch you down. I'll learn you to go to Shaw's. Treach! Run fetch some line. Edwin! Stripper, striker, bear, and lash you to the post.
African American slaves would work 16 to 20-hour days in the fields, producing rice, tobacco, sugarcane, cotton, and many other of America's goods. Millions of slaves would work under constant supervision, under the threat of severe punishments such as whippings, burning via hot irons, strangulation, beatings, starvation, rape, and many other forms of torture. Slaves who resisted were also subject to this disciplinary action, including execution. No matter how inhumane whites treated African Americans, whites found solace in the incontrovertible truth that they were the superior race. Many convinced themselves that they were actually doing God's work, taking care of what they believed was an inferior form of human. It's 1861. While many in the North believed that slavery should be abolished altogether, Southerners generally wished to see slavery prosper. 11 Southern states believed that African American slavery should be maintained. They believed that African American slavery should be spread all around the country. This was known as the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America. The Northern Unionists believed that slavery was unconstitutional, and this gave rise to a 4-year, all-out civil war. 620,000 soldiers died in the war to end slavery. Despite the abolishment of slavery, its effects proliferated all throughout the country many years after slavery ended.
Tulsa, the African American community in Tulsa was relatively prosperous, well-educated. I mean, they had done everything that they were supposed to do in terms of the American dream. You work hard, you save your money, you go to school, you buy property. I mean, this is what they had done under horrific conditions. I mean, when you look at the context of what Black America looked like at the time, the fact that they were able to do this is one of the things that we herald in terms of when we talk about the immigrant story, right? But instead, this created such seething resentment in Tulsa that you had Black doctors, Black attorneys, Black businessmen. I mean, in fact, this area of Tulsa was known as Black Wall Street, to give you some sense of how much it held in terms of value, in terms of esteem, in terms of worth. But that resentment in Tulsa was so intense and that it was just waiting for a spark to just ignite it. That spark was a Black messenger was delivering a message. You know, they had messengers back in the day, was delivering a message downtown. And he gets in the elevator, and there's a white woman in the elevator. I believe she was the elevator operator.
And from the first floor through the third floor, I mean, the elevator may have bumped or something, and he hit her a little bit, but he didn't hit her, he just kind of brushed against her. She yelled, "Rape." Now, to understand what the charge of rape means when a white woman yells rape against a black man in this period, because part of understanding the violence that African Americans faced was to deal with the issue of what was called the sanctity of white womanhood. And that sanctity of white womanhood said that all white women had to be protected from black beast, so-called black beast. And when she yelled rape, now the charge was absolutely improbable. From the first floor through to the third floor. Improbable. But it was the spark. They couldn't wait because he was the son of a prominent black businessman. So they hauled him, the police hauled him down to the station. Well, the black elite came down to the station going, you know, this is my son, this is my boy. My son wouldn't do this. What's his bail? And like, oh, uppity, how dare you come down here? How dare you? And because the African American community sensed that the sense of anger and violence was rising, it wasn't one or two that came down, there were several of them that came down. And like, oh, so what, are you going to storm the jail? They said, no, but we're here for justice. We're here for justice. And then the lynch mob began to form in Tulsa. It was like, oh, these are some uppity Negroes who need to be put back in their place.
Systemic racism lived on in the streets, workplace, stores, schools, courtrooms, and prisons.
Deep down in our nonviolent creed is the conviction that there are some things so dear, some things so precious, some things so eternally true that they're worth dying for. And if a man happens to be 36 years old, as I happen to be, and some great truth stands before the door of his life, some great opportunity to stand up for that which is right, he's afraid his home will get bombed, or he's afraid that he will lose his job, or he's afraid that he will get shot or beat down by state troopers. He may go on and live until he's 80, but he's just as dead at 36 as he would be at 80, and the cessation of breathing in his life is merely the belated announcement of an earlier death of the spirit. He died. Dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A man dies when he refuses to stand up for justice. A man dies when he refuses to take a stand for that which is true.
seek a brighter future for all life, which is why it is paramount to acknowledge injustice historically brought upon the African American community. African American history is often bogged down in chains, but it's also rich with resilience, activism, entrepreneurship, craftsmen, ingenuity, and artistic excellence. Even though our nation has a long-standing history with systemic racism and appears to be in a perpetual war with itself, the vast majority of people in this country and all around the globe know when to stand up and speak out against what is wrong. We all dream of a safer world, a world where no parent will question how safe their child is when walking to and from school, driving to work, sleeping at home, or just living their life. A world where we all are unquestionable equals. And that is why Black Lives Matter. To learn more, visit blacklivesmatter.com and consider walking with us in our journey towards equality.